Ciao ragazzi, my name is Anthony. Welcome along to Inter Worldwide. There's nothing better than waking up, crack of dawn level stuff in Sydney and seeing a friendly face all the way on the other side of the world. It's my pleasure to welcome Big Stevie P from the Milan Weekly Podcast. You're helping me with my energy this morning, brother. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, man. It's again we talked about a little bit off air. It's amazing what technology has done. Where you're 6 in the morning Friday, and I'm still on Thursday, and we can talk something that links us together, which is culture. So that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So all the best to Steve and everybody who is watching. We've got Nicola in the chat, same as Mattia. Nice to see you, and Emiliano as well. Thank you to the 11 people that are joining us now. And I'm really looking forward to this short but sweet chat about our two sides meeting for what could be called a decisive derby, Steve. It's been a turbulent season for you guys, still performing extremely well, in my opinion, with the squad you have. I listen to a lot of content from a lot of different fans from different clubs, and you are an extremely level-headed fan when it comes to expectations. You have maintained the very logical framework that this Milan side under Pioli with the personnel is most likely a top four side, and that should have been the be-all and end-all goal from the start. I think that the way you guys have set that higher expectation is fantastic because, we all know when you aim for first, you can still come second, third, and fourth. But if you aim for fourth, that's not exactly a great strategy. So what I want to hear from you, and I'm sure what the people want to hear, what has been your reaction to Milan's season so far, and how do you see it progressing on from here?
Yeah. So Milan season's been a bit funny. Again, like you said, I'm one that I really like to manage expectations. I enjoy the game. I love Milan. I bleed Milan. Uh, but I need to be realistic. And as a fan and as a supporter for the longest time, Milan is used to winning. We want to win. The fan base is starved, for 10 plus years of banter, ownership change or ownership fiasco, if you want to call it, where everybody was duped, and myself included. Uh, it's been tough, and we see the cousins on the other side. There's always I don't like to use the word hatred, but especially us here in North America and Australia, you know, you always wanna do better than the cousins, right? And
Yeah,
Milan for the past couple of years has been doing well. The cousins have showed the way in terms of building a squad, making Champions League consistently, and now investing in the squad. So for this, for last year, I was always the one of, yes, we were behind Inter, yes, we finished second, but as a fan base, as a Milan fan base, the team overachieved. We were missing, we were relying on a 40-year-old striker. We were very weak on the right hand side. We were missing, a center attacking midfield that could make a difference. And then you lose Donnarumma, right? So this year, I went into the season saying, I want to see what they do, and they addressed, the Donnarumma departure very, very adequately. Mike Magnan has been a surprise to me. I'm not gonna lie to your listeners, and I don't lie to mine. I only saw Mike Magnan playing when we played in the Europa League against Lille, and now coming to Milan, he's been fantastic. With me, it's always that window of opportunity to go get that scudetto, right? So I measure it like that. I'm not content finishing fourth. I want
yeah,
to make the Champions League, but I want to win the Scudetto. And my whole goal for Milan is not to become like Arsenal. I always say that. I don't want to be Arsenal. Arsenal's happy to have great books, in theory, great books, a ton of money to spend, whether they spend it properly or not. We all know they don't. And a team like Arsenal where no one wants to go to them. That's my worst fear.
yeah.
So for me, when Milan's window this year, especially the transfer market, was like, come on, guys, you didn't address what you needed to address, and now where are we going to finish, right? So it's always that unknown.
Yeah, fair call, very fair call. I'll just touch on that a little bit. The January Mercato that just passed, obviously very inactive for Milan. Is there anyone in particular that you can shift blame onto the club? I heard a few people on Twitter talking about, Maldini not working that hard. But for me personally, he can only work with the bag that he's getting. He can only work with the money that he has. At the end of the day, Inter's very lucky to have Beppe Marotta, but he also works with the money that is available. Directors don't carry the briefcase around with them, Steve.
No, no, and I agree with you 100% on that. I don't. It's not that I don't blame someone in particular. For me, it's the project, right? And we all understand, and Inter fans, you have an owner, you have someone who's also emotionally invested in the club, proud to be an owner of the club. For Milan right now, Elliott came and saved Milan. Let's be
Yeah.
straightforward, because Milan could be in a very very bad financial in a very very bad financial situation if Elliott did not save them. Elliott is also a hedge fund. They're
Yes.
used to making money, and if they're the type of business that could buy the debt of a country, everybody expects them that they're going to spend through the roof. But that's not their business model. And I understand the accounting of it, and I understand the financials of it, that, they want Milan to be self sustainable. But the Milan fans, and what they don't get is the passion behind it. The fans, yeah, they care about the financials, but they understand the window. We went through 10 years, and Inter was included, where Juventus was ahead of the game, legally or not legally, where they had their ducks in a row and they won 9 Scudetto in a row. And that's because, and I firmly believe, Inter and Milan were at their weakest. Did they have good teams? Yes. But the challenges and the opposition, Rome, Naples, Lazio, Atalanta, were just not investing the money to close that window and take that perch from Juventus. Only Milan and Inter do that consistently, time and time again, throughout the years. It's only Milan and Inter that challenge Juventus for that Scudetto in terms of investing the money and making that extra purchase where, yes, it's going to take you in the red, but you're going to win the Scudetto.
Yeah.
That's where my frustration came from the market, because obviously Milan needs someone at right wing still.
Yeah.
We had an injury at the center back position where Kajar, what I like to call him, is gone for the year, and Tomori being hurt as well. You're gambling now. Last year they gambled with Ibrahimovic and they tried to sign Mandzukic, and that didn't work out. This year you tried to address the striker position again. You gambled on Pellegrini, that didn't work out. Ibra gets hurt again. Now you're left with Giroud, and now we bring in the new Serbian, who we call him the. I don't even want to call him that. But Juve signs Vlahovic, and we take another Serbian who is gonna become the next Vlahovic. But that's not my window. That's not my window
Yeah.
for me to say I'm going for the Scudetto. That's me thinking later on.
Yes.
That was the frustration of the Mercato.
Yeah, very well said, Steve. Thank you. There's a couple of comments for Steve, but I'm going to just wait to go over to them because I want to make sure that we get through the probable formation up on Sky. And you can see Steve's concerns on, especially when it comes in that centre back position and that right wing hand side. And it should be the side that Inter tries to exploit a little bit more, in my opinion, especially in the very good form and relationships that Bastoni has with Perisic on that side as well, and whoever is playing up front. But for your gentleman, Steve, I'll go over to you to take the floor again. What are you thinking of your lineup up here on Sky? Do you think anything will change? I can see Frank Kessier is expected to start. I'm sure you'll have a little comment on him based on the latest news coming out that the renewal is now pretty much not going to happen. What are your thoughts on the lineup, man? Anything that you would personally change? And looking at a team like this, how do you think they'll approach the derby?
Yeah, so this is a safe lineup that he's fielding. I would have probably liked to go a little bit more aggressively. We've played Frank Kessie in the center attacking midfield position before. I would have liked to include Benacer in the starting lineup with Tonali and play Frank Kessie right behind the strikers. Now, Diaz was and is our post Hakan Çalhanoğlu replacement. Started off the year well, but he's fizzled out. Some people are going to say COVID, some people confidence. He needs to have a little bit of a reality check. That 10 is a heavy shirt for Milan, and it comes with a lot of responsibility, and he's just not creating enough. I think the derby, having him sit, not for the whole game, but for a good portion of the game, and see what we can get from that trio midfield, including Benacer from the start. Maybe it gives him a little bit of, hey, I need to reassess where I'm going. Right. The rest of the lineup looks pretty. Again, I'm happy to see Kalulu start instead of risking Tomori. Romagnoli, I have no issues with him in terms of, like, if he does what he can do and stays away from things that he cannot do, he's going to be fine. And the right hand side is always a problem. Again, I say it all the time. If I'm an opposing coach, I would attack Milan on the right hand side consistently for 85 of the 90 minutes. And I think that for 80 something of those minutes, I'd probably be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. For me personally, coming in as an Inter fan, I'm worried about your left-hand side because I don't want any space for Hernandez and Leao to be able to link up. I'm a pretty big fan of Rafael Leao, to be honest. I think he's really starting to pick up a lot of form based on his flary sort of style of play. A league like Serie A is a tough one for you to stand out with his style of play. We have seen so many players with his attributes and his characteristics come here and fail miserably, but he's really starting to perform well. I just wanted to know your thoughts on the progression of Rafael Leao this season. Are you a big fan, Steve?
So Leao is special for me. I have been very tough on Leao from when he started, and I think throughout the time that I was tough, I took a lot of heat. I took a lot of heat from Milan fans, basically saying that I'm too negative and give him a break. And there's no breaks in Serie A. It's not me just wanting to be. It's not just me wanting to be negative. There was obvious signals from Leao that he needed to mature. He needed to understand the Italian game. He was fine in France, but in Italy, it's a different game. They will pinpoint your weaknesses and your strengths, and they will exploit them. And that's what they did. He's someone who likes to take on people one-on-one. He needs to, and he's gotten much better in terms of his attitude, his body language on the pitch. It's not easy come, easy go. It's, yes, the smile is there, but you see that he's starting to mature as a player and starting to understand what's the right decision to make in the final third. And as he gets and continues to grow and gets more experience, you'll see that I think he can bring it to another level. And I think that there's more growth, if it's even possible, and people are going to say you're crazy. There's more growth there. There's more experience that he can attain to make him even more of a dangerous player and even more of a nightmare for the opposition. So,
yeah, I would have to agree. Looking at our lineup, it's pretty stone wall. We have been very lucky this season in terms of not having the injury crisis or the injuries extent as the likes of Milan and Napoli. But what I like to remind everybody, Steve, is this sort of stuff doesn't happen overnight. This takes years and years of building competent backroom staff, medical staff, training regimes, proper nutrition plans. And as someone that, I've built my field in exercise science in my life, I know how tough it is to be able to establish, one good plan and one good workout regime, let alone for an entire club at top level, professional level. So what you're seeing with Inter in the terms of our players and how we've been able to build that sort of depth, I'm really lucky in a sense, but also very thankful that we've made our own luck. And I think Milan is very much on that trajectory. The way I see Inter at the moment, we do have that luxury of being able to start all of our best players, but still have maybe 3 or 4 on the bench that could be supplemented in there pretty much from the start of the game. I wouldn't say we've got 2 sides that can compete on all fronts, but we're definitely around about that 1.5 now, yes. which is very, very nice. So starting from the back, Handanovic, Skriniar, De Vrij, Bastoni, Brozovic, Barella, Hakan, Perisic on the left, Denzel Dumfries on the right, and Dzeko and Martinez expected to start. For me, that's a great lineup. I thought that possibly Simone Inzaghi would choose to start Alexis Sanchez alongside Martinez because they both were in very, very red-hot form on international duty for Chile and for Argentina. But Alexis Sanchez starting games for Inter this season has been a very much a shadow of what he's like when he comes off the bench. Great lineup for us. I expect our midfield to have a good game because Brozovic is at that critical stage where he's either going to announce a contract renewal in the next 10 days, 12 days, or we're going to know for a fact that he is not going to stay. So either way, he's going to want to have a big performance. We don't need to talk about how much Hakan wants to have a good performance. Whether or not he does is subjective, but we'll see what happens there. But most importantly for us, Steve, one of our most important players, Nico Barella, is going to miss both of the Liverpool legs in the Champions League. So we really expect him to come out in the games against Milan, Roma, and Napoli, like a dog off a leash, pretty much. What are your thoughts on our team news, mate, going into the game?
Yeah, look, and you said it, right? And that's the big difference between Inter and and the other teams that are behind them is their depth is much greater than that, right? And look at Milan. We're having trouble identifying a proper replacement for someone on the right hand side. It's a couple of years now, right? And that can only fall on management. So something like that, where I myself, like you said, sitting in Canada over here, where a couple of days ago was minus 35, and understand a little bit about this game, and I know I try to see it objectively and as fair as possible. It's 3 years I've been saying, give me. Can I swear? Am I
Of
allowed to
course.
swear? Yeah.
Go for
Give
it.
me a fucking right wing. I've been asking for a right wing. It's 2 years now.
I've heard you
And
say it for 2 years.
yeah. It's 2 years, and I'm gonna say it for your guys too, just to be not as non-biased as possible, and how critical I am of Milan. So when you don't address that angers me, right? And then at the beginning of this year, we saw Inter lose Lukaku and Hakimi, two of their best players, if not the two best players
Yes.
for Inter, and replace them almost instantly and not skip a beat. See, that's a missed opportunity on Milan, because I saw even in, I think it was, I'm going to screw up his name there, but in the comments, I see Yuhon81. He said this game is screaming for Lukaku, and he's 100% right, because there's no one on the Milan team at center back who would have been able to take care of Lukaku.
Yeah.
And it's not true anymore, because I think they can handle and have handled Dzeko in the past.
Yep.
Martinez seems to have a one derby yes, one derby no type of game.
Well said.
Your midfield, Perisic, again, even him, you don't know which Perisic you're going to get. But for Barella and Brozovic, those are someone who shows up all the time. Bastoni and the back three, they're always going to show up. And your big question is, will someone beat Handanovic from a shot that's rolling and bumping from outside the 18 that's going to cost you this derby? Wow. And again, it's not too high, but Handanovic can also make a game-saving derby win save from inside the 6-yard box, right? So the beauty about the derby is we could toss aside everything that happened in the Mercato, toss aside everything that happened in the games prior to this game. Once it's the derby, everything is isolated to that day, Saturday, whatever time you are in whichever part of the world. For 90, 95 minutes, you're going to see two teams that go after each other. Yeah. In terms of Hakan Çalhanoğlu, I'd like to say it here. If I was a player on Milan, he got away in the first derby. There is an unwritten rule, and it's not to injure, but the way he left Milan and in his first derby, even after scoring and celebrating, players like that need to pay a price. Mm-hmm. And that price is complete harassment for 95 minutes. And it's not, again, please guys, don't take this out of context. I know how the internet works. It's not to injure. Yeah. It's to set a tone. You did this to Milan, and I would expect the same thing if an Inter player came to Milan. That for 90-95 minutes, especially in the derby, you need to keep your stuff in check, because we brought you here. Don't forget what Milan did for you. And I would hope that now in this derby, someone makes them understand that it's not Disney World now, the derby. It's the derby.
Yeah. 100%. I understand what you're saying, and I'm sure all of our listeners will as well. It's got absolutely nothing to do with physically hurting somebody. It's got everything to do with mentally psyching them out and just stamping your authority and saying this is the biggest game in the country. Pretty much, you're not going to embarrass our club like this, or at least you're not going to think that you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In terms of form and some team news going into this game, Inter's form is quite good. 4 wins in the last 5, 1 draw away to Bergamo. And that's the form in all competitions as well, including Coppa Italia. Milan's form, not as good, but still half decent. In Serie A, you're on 3 wins, 2 losses and a draw in your last 6, 4 wins in 6 altogether in competitions. Following a fortnight of inaction, you resume your campaign with Tomori and Ibrahimovic pretty much definitely out. I am seeing a couple of rumors that Ibrahimovic will make the bench. No Sanremo Festival this year for Zlatan. I'm a big Zlatan fan, Stevie, and I probably say it once every fortnight on my channel. I really don't care where he is. I will always be a fan of King Zlatan, but I think this is a situation where the Inter game is a high intensity game. If I was Pioli, putting Zlatan on the pitch at any point in this game could really just ruin his season. it's probably better to play Zlatan against the teams where you know he can start the game, score a couple of goals, and then get some rest. Would you agree?
Yeah, this year now you shift your focus from yes, it's very important. Yes, it's a Scudetto deciding match, in my opinion. But you have to also think of, and you set the tone in the mercato. Your project and your goal is to finish top four, and you have a better chance of finishing top four with Ibra in your team than out of your team for a long period of time. Ibra
Yeah.
can't play 90 minutes anymore. Let's be very honest, guys. And we saw against Spezia, we were playing 90, 95 minutes with a man down, right? So
Yep.
this is
Yeah.
this is the balancing act that has to happen. And the derby is not the game to think about it this way, but we have no choice. We're not deep enough. We're injuries away from having some serious problems. So not risking Tomori, not risking Ibra, and again having pretty decent replacements for them. I think Kalulu has come on as someone as a bit of a surprise, and for Ibra, I think Giroud has 90 minutes in his legs, or can think about it a little bit more and see how Pioli can figure something out if he doesn't. The other miss that we'll have, and I saw it before coming on with you, is it seems like Rebic will not be able to is injured as well. So does he have
Yeah.
any minutes in him as well? I don't know, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough. Again, I enjoy the derby. I watch it as a fan. Am I stressed? Absolutely, but again, I have to be able to manage my expectations.
Of
And
course.
with what they did in the mercato, I understand it's a project now, and as frustrating as it is, and admitting it here with you, I don't think they're able to catch Inter with the even if they do win, even if they do win the Scudetto. Sorry, even if they do win the Derby, I don't think Milan has enough in the gas tank to win the Scudetto.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. It would be a surprise. I'll promise you that if it does happen, I will be on every Inter show saying I was completely wrong.
You would have earned that right, mate. You would have earned that right. Before we go over to a couple of questions in the chat for Stevie, what's your prediction for the derby, man? How do you think the game will go tactically, and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, so I hate the score predictions. I never do it just because it's not that it never works out. It plays with my psyche. I think Inter will dominate a lot of possession for good periods of time. It's the way Milan will be able to handle the waves of attacking football from Inter. Uh, the right hand side is going to play a big factor. For me, this one an actual score. I think that this one's heading for a draw for some reason. I just think that Milan has a little bit of chip on their shoulder. Those players who uh, might have thought they were getting reinforcements, might have thought that, hey, if reinforcements come in, do I lose my place? Now you kind of can look at the Mercato as, hey, we trusted in you. There's no one else coming in to take your place. It's derby time. Show me that I made the right decision not bringing in any replacements.
Yeah,
I think
fair
it's
enough.
heading for a draw.
Yeah, well said, man. I would say that it's actually heading for a draw as well. I looked for every reason to think that we are going to win this game. I think the players are a little bit better. I think the team's got a little bit more energy and form, but it is a derby. All form goes out the window. And I can see that this game getting to about the 70th minute, still at a draw, and us playing extremely conservative, because you sort of have earned that right. If you've got the buffer zone that we've got, that we're in a position at the moment where a draw would just feel like, points picked up rather than points dropped. But, we'll see what happens. It'd be nice to see both sides go for the win, regardless of what time in the scoreline as well. So a couple questions for Steve. First one, this is kind of sort of out of context. Steve, would you take Gagliardini?
No.
It can't happen now, Balkan, anyway, because Kessie would be out of contract anyway. But
Never.
good answer, Steve. No need to even talk about it a bit longer.
Never.
When signing Tonali, did you expect him to be this good?
I expected him to be good. I expected some growing pains. He's another one. I was very, very critical of him the first year that he was at Milan, just because he wasn't. I don't think he understood the move from Brescia to Milan and how much the Milan jersey weighed. Also, he was brought into a new system, And as Milan fans, and I'm pretty sure Inter fans do the same thing, we want to make those types of players succeed even when they're not succeeding. And last year he was not succeeding, and I was able to, and I, just being honest, calling him out and saying, you're not doing this right, you're losing balls cheaply. Guys, I'm not making it up. It's, if 100 people watch the game and 100 people and 90 of them say that he lost the ball cheaply, the 10% that are saying that he didn't lose the ball cheaply, it's because you don't want to believe it. But now this year he's become more mature, he's been more dynamic, and he hasn't been losing the ball cheaply, and he's been contributing in the final third as well. So the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely, man. As an Azzurri fan as well, I would ask you, who would you start in the Italian midfield going forward then to the World Cup qualifiers?
It's going to be Barella, Verratti, and Jorginho.
Yeah, 100%. I'd have to agree.
Now,
there,
the big question for any Azzurri fans is, do Barella and Verratti cancel each other out? That's the only fear that I have. I find them very similar. I think Verratti demands more of the ball, but we saw the game in the Euro when the three played together. Barella almost was trying too much. Because he wasn't able to do what he usually does. So he had to kind of switch his mindset and try to do something different, and he looked lost and out of place. With Inter, I've never seen Barella near the corner stick.
He has started
Euro game.
Yeah, what you're talking about is, Steve, is some of what he started to do this season, having to switch a little bit from the contest system where there were only three players playing with pretty much their face to goal. That was Barella, Hakimi, and Lukaku the whole time. With Inzaghi, he's got a lot more space to walk around, but when he has to switch his decision-making, he can get a little bit overwhelmed, and you saw that with the national team in Barella.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that scares me about that, because with the quality of Barella, Jorginho, and Verratti, you obviously know whoever is going to play with them is going to try to take Jorginho out of the game, because he's the distributor. So then it's Verratti and Barella to say, hey, one of us is to be distributor and one of us has to be workhorse. Who's it going to be, right? And usually it becomes, from what I've seen, this is my opinion, it's usually Verratti who becomes distributor. Then Barella needs to find his position.
Yeah, of course. Guys, that's all we're going to have time for on Inter Worldwide. I'd like to thank the 22, 23 people that came here to join us today. I would really like to thank my guest, Stevie P. Please, guys, go and follow him and the team at Milan Weekly Pod. Here in the English-speaking cultural community, we always have the utmost love and respect for all the content creators. That's something I think Steve can agree on. We all get along very well, and it's very, very enjoyable. So, Steve, thank you so much for coming on to Inter Worldwide again, mate.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. You guys, you notice in the back of me, I have an evil eye there. That's just because I was coming on the Inter podcast, and I don't want Scarogna for the Derby. So my wife kicked me out of my downstairs little mini studio. So I came up here and I said, it's perfect. I like it with the evil eye behind me. Yeah. All jokes aside, thank you very much for having me. Thank you, guys. Guys, please follow Milan Weekly Podcast. You know, we talk about everything. We talk about Milan mostly. I know it's a bit of nails on a chalkboard for you guys, but I promise you there's good content for everybody else, all the other Calcio fans there. And again, thank you very much. It's 6:30 in the morning, guys, almost 7 in the morning there in Australia. So someone needs to go to work.
Exactly right, man. I hear you. So thanks again to Steve, and thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Ciao.